All right, so we're diving into some serious mental toughness today, the kind used by pro athletes.
Oh, yeah, we're talking about 10-Minute Toughness by Jason Selk.
This book, it's a game changer, honestly.
Yeah.
We're not talking vague self-help stuff.
No, no, no.
This is like training your mind, like an athlete trains their body.
What I find so interesting is it really challenges how we think about toughness, you know?
Right.
It's not just pushing through, gritting your teeth.
Yeah.
It's about building that mental strength so you can perform at your best consistently.
Like you could have all the talent in the world,
Right.
but if you don't have that mental strength to back it up.
It's like a golfer, perfect swing, but no follow through.
Yeah. Or a runner with amazing technique, but like weak legs.
Exactly.
And this book gives you the tools to build that mental muscle.
It does. And he uses all these stories, World Series comebacks.
Oh, yeah.
Olympic gymnasts. There's even these experiments they did
Oh, wow.
where they messed with golfers' heart rates on purpose to see how they'd perform.
Wild. So Selk introduces this idea called the mental workout.
Yeah, 5 steps you do before you practice or compete even.
So you're like prepped mentally.
It's like weightlifting, but for your mind.
Oh, I like that.
Building that mental strength.
And the best part is this whole routine takes 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
It's like the time it takes to make a cup of coffee.
Yeah,
And he breaks down each step in the first few chapters.
he does. But let's give everyone a sneak peek.
Okay, perfect.
Step 1, and this is more nuanced than it sounds, it's centering breaths.
Okay.
This isn't just like, oh, take a deep breath and calm down.
Yeah.
There's a technique.
Interesting.
It's about controlling your breathing to regulate your heart rate,
Makes sense.
especially when the pressure's on.
Because there's that thing, right, where like your heart rate gets too high.
Yeah, there's a point, like when your heart rate hits 150 beats per minute,
Yeah.
it's like your mind just shuts down.
You can't think straight.
Yeah, survival mode.
Wow. But elite athletes, they train to actually perform under that kind of pressure.
Really?
But for most of us, that level of stress, it's crippling.
Totally.
And Selk uses this example, this major league pitcher.
Okay.
You could see him on camera taking these short breaths, panicked.
Oh, wow.
Every time he was in a tough spot, you could just tell he was struggling to stay composed.
Yeah, yeah.
And it really affected his game. He wasn't using those centering breaths right.
So what's the technique then?
Okay, so it's a 15-second inhale,
Okay.
but you're focusing on filling your diaphragm.
Oh, okay.
And here's the thing. If you can't hold it for the whole 15 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
you need another one.
Oh, interesting.
That's like a sign you're not regulating that stress response well enough.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the science behind it, it's fascinating. By controlling your breath, you're directly affecting your heart rate,
yeah.
giving your mind the space to actually think clearly, make good decisions, even when everything's crazy around you. I like that. Okay, step 2. What do we got?
All right, step 2 is the performance statement. This is where it gets really cool.
Okay, tell me more.
It's about having one single thought
Okay.
to keep you focused on the process.
Not the outcome.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
And he even tells the story about Sean Townsend, this Olympic gymnast.
Okay.
He used this technique to come back from a major injury and win gold.
Wow.
Because, think about it, our minds are so noisy.
Right. So many doubts and distractions.
A performance statement, it's like this filter.
Okay.
It replaces all that negativity with one positive thought.
That helps you perform your best.
Exactly. It's like an anchor when the pressure's on.
It's funny because everyone says think positive, but when you're in that moment, what does that even mean?
Right.
So having a specific statement.
It's a concrete instruction for your mind.
Okay, I like that. All right, step 3.
All right, step 3. The personal highlight reel.
Okay, what's that?
This one really got me.
Okay, good.
Imagine watching your own highlight reel,
Oh, yeah.
but you create it in your mind.
Oh, interesting.
You're visualizing yourself performing at your absolute best.
I like that.
And the book actually says visualizing for 1 minute.
Yeah.
It's as effective as 7 minutes of actual practice.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I got to try that.
And Selk breaks it down. You know, you visualize from these different camera angles.
Oh, okay.
Each one helps you solidify the skills you're working on.
Interesting.
And you got to engage all your senses.
Oh, right.
It's not just seeing it, it's the sounds, the feeling.
You really got to be in that moment.
Yeah, the more vivid, the better.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, what's step 4?
Step 4 is the identity statement.
Okay.
And this one gets a little deep.
Okay, I'm ready.
Selk says you can't outperform your self-image.
Oh, wow.
So you have to ask yourself, what do you really believe you're capable of?
That's a good question.
He tells a story about This high school runner, she was struggling,
Yeah.
and her coach, he just started repeating these phrases that changed her whole self-image,
Really?
and it turned her life around.
Wow.
It's amazing how powerful our beliefs about ourselves are.
Yeah. So how do you create an identity statement?
Well, Selk gives you a simple formula,
Okay.
2 parts. First, you identify a strength you already have or want to develop.
Okay.
And second, you say what you will achieve using that strength.
Okay.
But the key is you say it like it's already true.
Oh, interesting.
You embed that belief in your mind.
Okay, I like that. So we've got these 4 tools.
Right.
What's the final step?
Step 5 is putting it all together.
Which sounds obvious, but
But he really emphasizes it's not enough to just know these techniques.
right, you got to use it
I'm gotta practice.
like an athlete practices their sport
Exactly.
every day.
Consistently.
He tells this story about a minor league pitcher, super dedicated,
Mm-hmm.
but he kept messing up one step in his mental routine,
Yeah.
and it threw off his whole game.
It shows you how all the parts of this mental workout, they're connected.
Like an engine.
Yeah, if one part's not working right, the whole thing suffers.
Right.
So consistency is key.
So it's not about being perfect, it's about getting better over time.
Exactly. Even small changes to your mental game can make a huge difference.
I like that.
Mhm.
So this emphasis on getting better, it kind of leads into the next part of the book, right? Goal setting.
It does, and he goes way beyond just writing down resolutions you forget about.
Oh, good. Because that never works.
And get this, he cites research that says only like 37% of people actually understand their team's goals.
Wait, 37%?
It's crazy, right?
How are you supposed to perform your best if you don't even know what you're aiming for?
Exactly. So he breaks goals down into 3 categories.
Okay.
You got your ultimate goals, the big picture,
Yeah.
Then there's product goals. Those are the measurable results like in the next year.
Okay.
And then process goals. Those are the daily actions that get you there.
So it's like building a bridge from where you are now to where you want to be.
Yeah, like instead of just saying, I want to run a marathon.
You break it down into smaller steps.
Exactly. And to keep those goals in mind, he talks about success logs.
What are those?
It's like a quick review after each practice,
Right.
just to keep those goals top of mind.
Okay, so you're actively working towards them, not just like hoping for the best.
Right. And that leads us to one of the coolest ideas in the book, relentless solution focuses.
Okay, this sounds intense. Tell me more.
It's not about ignoring problems.
Yeah.
It's about immediately looking for the thing you can do to improve.
Oh, I see.
Actionable steps.
Actionable steps. Okay.
And he tells this crazy story about the Andes plane crash survivors.
Oh, wow.
It's a pretty dark example, but
Yeah.
it shows you how powerful this mindset can be, even in a terrible situation.
They were focused on solutions.
Yeah, they didn't dwell on the problem. They looked for ways to get out of it.
So powerful.
And Selk challenges us. He says most people are only solution focused, like 40% of the time.
Really?
What if we bump that up to 100%?
Wow. What could we accomplish?
Makes you think, right?
It does. It does. So, okay, we've got all these mental tools,
Right.
but how do we know if it's actually working?
Yeah, that's a great question. Is it just about winning, or is there more to it?
Right? Like, how does mental toughness show up in your everyday life?
Well, Selk talks about a few things. Consistency, for one.
Okay.
Bouncing back from setbacks faster.
Yeah, that resilience.
And being more in control even when things are going wrong.
So it's about that feeling of preparedness, like competition feels easier than practice because you've put in the work.
Exactly.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
And the key takeaway is this. 10-minute toughness gives you a framework, like a set of tools.
Mm-hmm.
But it's your job to figure out how to use those tools in your own life.
It's not one size fits all.
What works for you might not work for someone else. So what's one area where you could use more mental strength?
And what's your self-image like right now? Is it helping you or holding you back?
It's about taking a good look at yourself.
And then taking action.
So pick one thing from this deep dive and try it out.
Just one thing.
You might be surprised how powerful 10 minutes a day can be.
You really might.
And that leads us to something really interesting that Selk explores. Personal incentives.
Because most of us aren't getting paid millions to be mentally tough.
Right.
Right.
So how do we stay motivated?
It's like those escalator clauses in pro athletes' contracts, where they get bonuses for hitting certain goals.
Yeah.
Selk says you got to create your own personal rewards program.
Oh, interesting.
To tap into what really gets you going.
I like that. So what kind of rewards are we talking about here?
He tells the story about this 47-year-old executive always wanted to run the Boston Marathon.
Okay, that's a big goal.
To qualify, he had to finish a full marathon in under 3.5 hours.
Wow, that's impressive.
So to stay motivated, he promised himself that if he hit that goal, he'd buy a vintage Porsche.
Oh, wow. A classic car.
Well, the one he'd always wanted.
Now, that's a reward worth working for.
Right.
I mean, a testament to your mental and physical discipline.
But the rewards don't have to be that big, you know?
Oh.
Selk says it could be a nice dinner, a new book, anything that really brings you joy.
The key is finding something that really makes you feel good
Exactly.
and using that as fuel.
It's about tapping into what makes you tick.
You know, it's funny. I'm realizing I think we often set goals based on what we think we should be doing,
Yeah.
not what we actually want.
Selk calls that vision integrity,
Okay.
making sure your goals are aligned with your deepest values.
So it's about being true to yourself.
Yeah, making sure your goals reflect who you want to be, not just what you think you should achieve.
That's a good point. So how do you figure out what your true vision is?
Selk talks about Vince Lombardi, you know, the legendary football coach.
Oh, yeah, of course.
He said his 3 priorities were God, family, and the Green Bay Packers.
Wow.
It's about knowing what truly matters to you.
And making sure your goals reflect that.
He tells this story about a music executive. She was feeling stuck.
Oh, no.
Turns out she was chasing goals her parents had set for her,
Oh, wow.
not the ones that she was passionate about.
That's tough.
Oh, so sad, right?
But I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, feeling pressured to do what others expect.
So Selk says vision is about identifying your top priorities.
Yeah, and integrity is about taking consistent action to make them happen.
It's about walking the walk.
He tells another story about this gymnast, super talented,
Okay.
could have been an Olympian,
Wow.
but he didn't love the sport.
Oh, no.
His real passion was diving,
Interesting.
even though he wasn't as naturally gifted.
Wow.
But he went for it.
That's brave.
And he ended up becoming one of the best divers in the country.
What an amazing story.
It shows you sometimes you have to make tough choices to pursue what truly brings you joy,
Even if it's scary.
even if it's scary.
So the takeaway here is to be brave enough to examine your goals,
Yeah.
make sure they're aligned with your heart,
With what makes you happy.
because when they are, the hard work, the discipline, it doesn't feel so hard anymore.
Exactly. It becomes something you want to do.
Okay, so we've talked about the mental workout, goal setting, even finding those personal incentives.
Yeah.
Now, Selk introduces a training philosophy called MP 100 plus 20.
Oh, yeah, this one's good.
Yeah. Break it down for me. What is this all about?
So MP stands for mental and physical,
Okay.
meaning you commit to completing 100% of both your mental and physical training.
So showing up consistently, doing the work, both mentally and physically.
Right. But then there's the plus 20.
Okay, that's the part I'm curious about.
That's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, tell me.
The plus 20 is about going above and beyond.
So pushing yourself even further.
Yeah, exceeding expectations. Like if your coach says run 10 sprints, you run 12.
Oh, I see.
If you're supposed to lift 3 sets of 10 reps, you do 12.
It's about constantly challenging yourself.
Exactly. It's a mindset of continuous improvement.
Always striving to be better.
And you can apply this to anything, not just sports.
Oh, totally.
Like at work, if you're working on a project, don't just meet the minimum requirements.
Yeah.
Go above and beyond, add value, impress people.
It's about being proactive, taking ownership.
Exactly.
Okay, so how does this actually play out in real life?
Selk tells this story about a wide receiver. Super talented,
Okay.
but he struggled with consistency.
Oh, so he could make those amazing catches, but then...
But he'd also drop the easy ones.
Right.
So Selk challenged him to embrace this MP 100 plus 20 philosophy.
Okay, and what happened?
He committed to doing all his drills, his workouts, but then he'd stay after practice to work on his hand-eye coordination, catch extra passes.
Oh, wow.
And mentally, he started using his personal highlight reel more, visualizing himself making those tough catches.
So he was putting in the extra effort, both physically and mentally.
Exactly.
And it paid off.
It did. He became one of the most reliable receivers on the team.
Wow.
He said, by focusing on that plus 20, he felt more prepared, more confident.
And it showed in his performance.
Absolutely.
So we've got the mental workout, goal setting, the relentless solution focus, and now this MP 100 plus 20.
It's all starting to come together, right?
It is. It's like all these pieces are fitting together to build that mental strength.
Training your mind to be as strong as your body.
Exactly. But how do you know if it's actually working?
That's a good question. It's easy to get caught up in the theory, but how do you measure the real impact?
Right. Like, are you actually seeing results in your life?
Selk says to look for a few things. Are you more consistent?
Okay.
Are you bouncing back from setbacks faster?
That resilience we talked about.
Exactly. And do you feel calmer under pressure?
That's huge.
It's not just about winning or losing, it's about how you handle the tough moments.
Yeah, when things don't go your way.
Exactly. And he really stresses tracking your progress.
Oh, interesting. How do you do that?
He encourages athletes to keep what he calls success logs.
Okay, what are those?
It's basically a quick review after each practice or competition.
So you take a few minutes to reflect on what happened.
Yeah. What went well, what could be improved, and what's one specific action you can take to make that improvement.
It's like a mini debrief with yourself.
Right. Just 2 to 3 minutes after each session. And then, before your next mental workout, you review your entries.
So it helps you stay focused on your goals.
Exactly. It helps you identify areas where you can keep growing.
I like that. It's so practical and actionable.
Selk's ultimate goal is to help you reach a point where competition feels easier than practice. Because you've put in the work, you've built that mental muscle, and you're prepared for anything.
He tells his amazing story about a pitcher who gave up a game-winning home run in a crucial playoff game, but he still considered it one of his best outings.
Because he stayed focused on his process goals, on what he could control, even though his team lost.
That's powerful.
It shows you mental toughness isn't about being invincible. It's about staying grounded and resilient no matter what happens.
So we've covered so much in this first part of our deep dive into 10-minute toughness.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear this book has a lot to offer.
It really does. It's packed with insights and strategies to help you reframe your whole understanding of toughness.
It's not something you're born with, it's something you can develop.
like a muscle.
Exactly. And the best part is, it only takes 10 minutes a day
10 minutes to invest in your mental game.
to build that inner strength that can make a world of difference.
And that brings us to part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll explore even more of Selk's powerful techniques for building mental toughness.
Stay tuned.
You know, one thing that really stood out to me was how Selk emphasizes tracking your progress.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like,
Hmm.
how do you actually know if these techniques are working in your life?
Right. It's not just about wins and losses. He says you got to monitor your mental game itself.
Okay, so how do you do that?
Well, he suggests asking yourself some key questions like, am I using my mental workout consistently?
Makes sense.
Am I approaching challenges with a solution-focused mindset? Am I remembering to take those centering breaths when things get tough?
So it's about being more aware of your mental patterns.
Exactly, like holding yourself accountable. He also encourages creating what he calls success logs.
Success logs. Okay, I like the name.
What are those?
Ah.
It's basically a quick journaling exercise you do after each practice or competition. Just take a few minutes to jot down what went well,
Okay,
what could be improved,
got it.
and one concrete action you can take to work toward that improvement.
So it's like a mini debrief with yourself, a way to track your growth over time.
Precisely. And it only takes like 2 or 3 minutes after each session. Then before your next mental workout, you review your entries.
So it helps guide your focus for the next time.
Exactly. And it helps you identify areas where you can keep growing.
I love how simple and practical that is.
Selk's ultimate goal is to help you get to a point where competition feels easier than practice.
Wow, that would be amazing.
Because you've put in the work, you've built that mental muscle, you're prepared to handle whatever comes your way.
I can see how that would make you feel so much more confident.
Absolutely. He tells this great story about a pitcher who actually gave up a game-winning home run in a crucial playoff game.
Oh no.
But here's the thing. He still considered it one of his best performances.
Really? How come?
Because even in the face of defeat, he was able to stay grounded and focused on his process goals, on the things he could control.
So it's not about being invincible, it's about being resilient, even when things don't go your way.
Exactly. And that segues nicely into another important topic. Selk covers personal incentives.
Okay, yeah, because most of us aren't pro athletes with big contracts and sponsorships.
Right. So how do we stay motivated when those external rewards aren't always there?
That's a great question.
It's like those escalator clauses you see in some pro athlete contracts, you know, where they get bonuses for hitting certain milestones.
Oh, yeah.
Selk said you got to create your own personal rewards program.
Okay, I like that. So what kind of rewards are we talking about here?
He tells this awesome story about a 47-year-old executive who always wanted to run the Boston Marathon.
Wow, that's a serious goal.
Yeah, to qualify, he had to finish a full marathon in under 3.5 hours.
That's incredible.
So to keep himself motivated, he promised himself that if he hit that time, he'd buy a vintage Porsche.
Oh, wow, like a classic car.
The one you'd always dreamed of.
Talk about a reward worth working
Yeah.
for a testament to your mental and physical discipline.
Right, but he emphasizes that the rewards don't have to be that extravagant.
Oh, okay.
It could be something as simple as a nice dinner out, a new book, anything that really brings you joy.
I see. The key is finding something that truly resonates with you.
Exactly. It's about tapping into your own personal motivation, not relying on external pressure or expectations.
You know, it's funny. I'm realizing I think we often set goals based on what we think we should be doing,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
not what actually excites us.
Selk calls that vision integrity, making sure your goals are aligned with your deepest values and aspirations.
So it's about being true to yourself, ensuring that your goals reflect who you want to be, not who you think you should be.
Precisely. He even brings up Vince Lombardi, the legendary football coach.
Oh, yeah, of course.
He said his 3 priorities were God, family, and the Green Bay Packers.
Wow, that's pretty clear.
It's about knowing what truly matters to you and making sure your goals reflect that.
I love that, having that clarity.
He tells this story about a music executive who was feeling super frustrated because her goals never seemed to work out.
No.
It turned out she was chasing goals her parents had instilled in her,
Wow.
not the ones she was truly passionate about.
That's heartbreaking, but I bet a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, trying to live up to other people's expectations.
So it sounds like vision is about identifying those top priorities.
Exactly, and then integrity is about actually taking action to make them a reality.
Walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
He tells another great story about this super talented young gymnast. He was on track to become an Olympian,
Wow.
but deep down, he just didn't love the sport.
Oh, no.
His real passion was diving,
Interesting.
even though he wasn't as naturally gifted in that area.
So you had to make a tough choice.
He did, but ultimately he chose to pursue diving because that's where his heart was.
And did he find success?
He did. He ended up becoming one of the top divers in the country.
That's an incredible story.
Yeah.
It shows you that sometimes you have to be brave enough to reevaluate your goals.
Yeah, and make sure they're aligned with what truly brings you joy and fulfillment.
Even if it means going against the grain or taking a less conventional path.
Exactly. Now, speaking of going above and beyond, let's talk about this training philosophy Selk introduces called MP100 plus 20.
MP100 plus 20. Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
MP stands for mental and physical, meaning you commit to completing 100% of both your mental and physical training routines.
So showing up, consistently putting in the work, both mentally and physically.
Right, but then there's that plus 20.
Okay, that's the part I'm curious about.
That's where things get really interesting.
I'm listening.
The plus 20 is about pushing yourself beyond expectations.
Like exceeding what's asked of you.
Exactly. Like if your coach says to run 10 sprints, you run 12. If you're supposed to lift 3 sets of 10 reps, you do 12.
It's like always looking for ways to improve, to challenge yourself.
It's a mindset of continuous improvement, never settling for mediocrity.
I love that. And this isn't just limited to sports, right?
Absolutely. You can apply this to any area of your life.
Oh, totally. Like at work, if you're on a project.
Don't just meet the minimum requirements. Go above and beyond. Find ways to add value, impress people.
It's about being proactive, taking ownership of your performance.
So True Selk gives this example of a wide receiver, really talented guy.
Okay.
But he struggled with consistency. He could make these amazing catches.
Yeah.
But he'd also drop the easy ones.
Oh, I've seen that happen.
So Selk challenged him to embrace this MP100 plus 20 philosophy.
And what happened?
Well, he committed to doing all his drills and workouts, but then he'd stay after practice to work on his hand-eye coordination, catching extra passes.
Wow, so he was putting in that extra effort.
Exactly. And mentally, he started using his personal highlight reel, more visualizing himself making those tough catches.
So he was really going the extra mile, both physically and mentally.
And it paid off big time.
It did.
He became one of the most reliable receivers on the team. He said that by focusing on that plus 20, he felt more prepared and confident.
And it showed in his game.
Absolutely.
This is so inspiring.
It really is. It shows you the power of pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone.
So we've explored the mental workout, the importance of setting clear and aligned goals, the power of relentless solution focus, and now this idea of MP100 plus 20.
Selk has given us a lot to think about.
He really has. It's like he's created this incredible framework for developing mental toughness.
A toolbox filled with practical techniques that we can actually use in our own lives.
But how do we know if it's actually working? How do we measure our progress?
That's the key question, right? It's one thing to understand the concepts, but it's another to actually see real results.
So how do we know if we're on the right track?
Selk offers a few helpful indicators, he says, to pay attention to improvements in your consistency,
Okay.
your resilience.
That ability to bounce back.
Exactly, and your sense of calmness under pressure.
It's not just about racking up wins or avoiding losses.
It's about how you handle yourself when things get tough, when you face setbacks.
Right. It's about that inner strength.
He also emphasizes the importance of actually tracking your progress.
Oh, interesting. How do you suggest doing that?
He recommends creating what he calls success logs.
Okay. Success logs. Tell me more about those. What exactly are they?
It's basically a quick journaling exercise you do after each practice session or competition.
Okay.
You just take a few minutes to jot down what went well,
Okay.
what could be improved, and one specific actionable step you can take to work towards that improvement.
So like a mini debrief with yourself.
Right, just a way to capture those insights and make them actionable.
I like that, turning thoughts into action.
The best part is it only takes a few minutes after each session, and then before your next mental workout, you review your entries.
To help guide your focus for the next time.
Exactly, and to identify those areas where you can keep growing.
I love that it's such a simple but powerful way to track your progress and hold yourself accountable.
Selk's ultimate goal is to help you get to a point where competition feels easier than practice, because you've consistently put in the work, you've built that mental muscle. You're prepared for anything.
He tells this incredible story about a pitcher who, despite giving up a game-winning home run in a crucial playoff game, still considered it one of his best performances.
Because he was able to stay focused on his process goals, on what he could control even in the face of defeat.
That's amazing. It shows you that mental toughness isn't about being invincible.
It's about being resilient, adaptable, and composed in the face of adversity.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've explored the mental workout, the importance of setting clear and aligned goals, the power of relentless solution focus, and now this intriguing concept of MP 100 plus 20.
It's clear that Selk has created a comprehensive framework for developing mental toughness.
He's given us a toolbox filled with practical techniques that we can apply to our own lives, regardless of our field or level of expertise.
And it's not just about achieving success, it's about cultivating the mental fortitude to navigate the inevitable challenges and setbacks that come with any meaningful pursuit.
It's about developing that inner strength that allows us to persevere and thrive, even when things get tough.
Exactly. It's about training our minds to be as strong and resilient as our bodies.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What's resonating with you the most?
What's standing out to you as something you could implement in your own life?
It's amazing how Selk takes this idea of mental toughness and, reframes it.
It's not about being this emotionless robot.
Right.
It's about having these tools.
To deal with those challenges.
And to be resilient.
And what I like is he doesn't just, throw these concepts at you.
No, he gives you actual strategies.
Exercises you can do.
To put it all into practice.
Like he hands you this playbook.
Here's the blueprint.
Go build something amazing.
I love that.
It's not just reading about it.
It's doing something with it.
Taking action.
Making it real.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into 10-minute toughness, I want to leave you with this challenge.
Okay, I like challenges.
Don't just listen to this.
No.
Do something with it.
What's one thing?
Pick one strategy, one tool, anything that resonated with you,
Yeah.
and try it out.
In your own life.
Try incorporating those centering breaths,
Oh, yeah.
or create your own personal highlight reel,
See yourself succeeding.
or work on that relentless solution focus.
Always looking for the way forward.
Take that first step,
Just one step.
And you might be surprised at what happens.
Seriously, 10 minutes can change everything.
Mental toughness, it's not the finish line,
It's the journey.
and it all starts with that first step.
So what's yours going to be?